Episode 32. Sugar Shane, 32 rolling.
Take two.
Yeah, we'll get her right one time eventually. We got one of our own Florida natives in here with us today, Shane.
Yeah.
I've known him for a while, back in the iMoto days when we were traveling around, going to the different races and stuff like that. DeLand, Florida, JSR Motorsports, switching over to a Honda, which we're going to talk about it too, but Mr. Justin Starling.
Yeah, stoked to be here. It's been a while. We did the last iMoto one was in Reddick.
Yes.
I think I was on Suzuki's.
Yep, it was in Reddick. And
So this isn't your first interview?
no, trust me, when we had the iMoto stuff going, I think Justin is the one that made the term at that time. Tyler Kosher, correct me if I'm wrong, because we were editing it during the week, but I think he made the term, "You don't moto, I moto." I'm pretty sure you came up with that at Reddick.
I have no idea, but I could see myself saying something like that.
Well, we also have a good friend of Future MX, good friend of mine personally, Mr. Dave Dukey, with us in the room.
Hello.
Duke, nice to have you down here in Florida.
Good to be down here.
He's back.
Probably a little bit different weather than up there in the Chicago area.
Yep. It's been in the 50s for the last week and a half.
Yeah.
And raining.
So are you considered a snowbird mechanic?
I think you could probably call it that because I usually come down in September, October, go home about May.
So you're the one causing the traffic and
Absolutely.
crappy driving around here. Snowbird mechanics.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk on Justin, and I know Duke, you were there too through the iMoto times. We did a lot at that time. You were with Drew, and we got to spend a lot of time together. But Justin, you were Suzuki, I think.
Yep.
At that time, was that through the Rockstar Suzuki thing?
Yes.
Or?
Yep. Yeah, actually, I think Drew and I were on the same team at the same time, weren't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that would have been what, like
2009.
08, 09?
Yep.
Yeah. So talk about growing up. Are you born and raised from DeLand?
Yeah, well, now I live in Riverview, so down near Tampa. But yeah, born and raised Florida my whole life. I've done the whole go to California and live out there for a bit and do all that. But yeah, no, I'm a Florida native.
Yeah. And then growing up in Florida, were you doing like mainly local stuff or Gold Cup stuff or?
Honestly, no. My dad at the time, it was more like, let's just train with like Ronnie Tishner at the time. So we were doing a lot of that and then just racing the nationals and then would do Winter Ams because Winter Ams was always big at the time.
Yeah.
And then Gold Cup was kind of like, hey, if we think we need to race, like, let's go do that. Yeah. But mainly just Winter Ams and the nationals.
So do you have any siblings or anything that ride?
I have a sister, but no, she doesn't ride.
So when did you first start riding? Like, when'd you get into this? I mean,
yeah, so I was 4. My dad got me a JR50 and
the JR50.
Yeah, man, on Christmas I remember it, and I remember going out the back door holding it wide open into a tree. And after that, I wanted nothing to do with dirt bikes. I was like, nope, that's dangerous. I'm out.
Yeah.
And then then my sister started getting good, and I'm like, oh, can't let that happen, And she's a little bit older than me, and next time I rode, I went directly into my dad's truck.
Nice.
And then, we started racing at PAX. PAX Tracks was my first time racing in first place. So, I ended up getting, I think, last, but I hole shotted. I remember being super scared, having everyone behind me, so I let them all go. And then just started racing from there.
Shane and I still do that to this day.
Whole shot and then let them all go?
Let everybody go.
Yeah. I'm only here for the whole shots.
What would have been the closest track to you growing up? Was it PAX?
Yeah, PAX is about 30 minutes from my parents' house, yeah.
So DeLand, I mean, you're not too far from like Waldo or Orlando.
No, far from Waldo. I think it was like hour 45 to get there because you're on the other side of the state at that point.
Yeah.
Orlando was about an hour, but yeah, PAX was 30 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess you were doing closer to like Daytona.
Yes. Yeah, literally, my parents live off the road, International Speedway, that goes to the speed.
Isn't that
Speedway
92?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. So you're growing up racing in Florida. At what point did this become serious?
That's a question we were just talking about not that long ago. I don't really know, but if I had to pinpoint it, I would say around 2002 when I won Loretta's my first time. It kind of from there seemed like it was gonna, I don't know, it was almost like something where I was like, oh, this is, because at the time I didn't know what I won, but
yeah.
after that, I remember it was an offer from Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki, and Yamaha.
Nice.
And I was on 50, so I could only go really a couple spots because only other, like I think Honda and Yamaha was only 85s.
Yeah.
So we only had really 2 options. But I was like, wow, this is something. You know, I rode for Cobra at the time, but I didn't really, to me, it just felt like family, and I thought my parents were just spending money. You know, I didn't know that I was getting support from them. But yeah, I'd say 2002 is when it started to really like take off.
2002.
Hey, I'm stoked we finally have a Loretta's winner here because everybody, no, seriously, like everybody that's successful that we've had on here is like all their Loretta stories are like horror stories.
Yeah.
Oh, I have more horror stories than good ones. I only won it twice.
Oh, I
Yeah.
mean, that's more than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One on a 50 and a 450. About 2 upsets you can get. There's
exactly.
a lot of horror in between that.
I was going to say that's a pretty big spread there.
Yeah.
Pretty
it was
big window.
2002 to 2009.
Nice. Thanks, Duke.
Dookie always comes through.
Thanks, Duke.
It wouldn't be Dookie without it. You know?
Of course.
Exactly. I turned it on when I sat down.
So I want to talk about the last Loretta's, which would have been the 450.
Yep.
So was that a pro sport or was that 450B? Or
450B stock.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't even anything big. The only real riders I was against was Bryce Valley, who doesn't even race anymore, and then Nick Paluzzi, who doesn't race anymore.
I think we have a Paluzzi jersey around here somewhere.
I could have sworn I saw one when I walked in, but
Yeah.
it was yeah.
So what year would that have been?
2009 was the
Okay.
year I won that, but yeah, it was one of those ones like going into it was like if I didn't win, it was something wrong, and I should have won both, but I crashed out of the other one. Another like horror story, you know, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But
It
I think I
happens.
went like 2 DNF 1 or something like that. So
Yeah.
but yeah, the other class I went 113 or no 311, and yeah, it was one of those things. If I didn't win, it was gonna be something wrong.
Nice.
So
I think at that time too, Duke, you were up there at Loretta's.
Yeah.
I mean, you had the show hauler up there then.
Yeah, we raced against him in that class, I believe.
No,
No?
no, if you were Drew, he was always A. I was always a step behind Drew.
Oh, that's true.
I barely even really ever raced him, if
You're
I'm
right.
honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Yep, you're right.
Yeah. So
I was there.
2009. Did you go again in 10?
Yeah, I went all the way till 11.
Yeah.
And then 11 was my last year, and I was on Team Green.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who'd you end up with on the 50s when you got those offers?
I believe we went to Suzuki.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a whole lot of choice in where I was going to go, and at the time I didn't really know. I think if I had to go back and I had some say in it, I would have went to a Cowie, just because Team Green was
Right.
so big. But we were training with Tishner at the time, and that was with Izzy and Treadle and all them, and they were Suzuki. So I think my dad was like, "Oh, look, like that's a good future for you to go. So let's go that route." But like I said, I was so young.
Right.
I was just riding the bike, and if
Yeah.
it was there the next day, I'll ride it again.
I would say one thing I remember the most of Justin Starling at that time for me in the iMoto traveling around, we were at a lot of the same races, but you always seemed to be in such a good mood.
Yeah.
Like you were one of the happiest guys. Like it didn't matter if you got first or fifth. You were always just like a positive, fun guy.
Yep.
And I think it's funny to me now, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, because that's one thing I admire about you a lot is, your interaction with fans and, you promote yourself really well. Actually, Duke and I were talking about that earlier, is that you promote yourself and handle yourself really well. But I remember back then, like you were always a lot of fun.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I want this guy around.
Yeah, I do this for fun, right? I mean, it is my job now. At the time, it wasn't. I mean,
Right.
I guess you could say it was, but I didn't know that, and this is why I do it. I love this sport. So
Yeah.
I know the day that I don't love it, I won't be around. I'll definitely leave. But man, every day I ride, I'm just so stoked to be out there. And then just being at the track, it feels like family, Like I went and did a Florida Series race this year at Tampa Mex. I live 4 miles from there. So it was like, okay, yeah, I'll go race it.
Yeah.
I had so much fun that day, like just joking around and having a good time. And like, it kind of brings you back to what it used to be, Like when you go pro, it gets a little bit more serious and a little bit more stressful and stuff. But
Yeah.
man, I just love it. Like this is like the most fun thing you can do, and I can make a living doing it. So yeah, I don't know.
Well,
you got to keep it fun.
Talk about that transition though, going into pro. So you do your very first pro race, Daytona.
No, Atlanta.
Was it?
Yeah, it went really bad.
Oh.
Oh yeah, it went really bad.
I thought it was Daytona. I thought it was in 2012 at Daytona.
No, that was my first main.
Oh, okay.
Which was just technically my second race.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went pro after 2011. After Loretta's, I signed a 2-year contract with Suzuki City. We made it through the photo shoot, testing, everything was done. Like, we were ready to go. I was feeling pretty good, probably not as prepared as I should be because I didn't really know what I should be doing. I was just riding.
Yeah, I mean, how do you know?
Yeah, I think looking back on it, I probably wasn't even close, but my bike was good. You know, I liked it. And then I think it was like a week and a half or 2 weeks before the first round, which was, I think, Dallas, the team folded because Arm Energy pulled out. They weren't seeing something with the team, or like the team owner, Nazakadis, like they weren't gelling. So they pulled out, team folded. They took my bikes. They took all the way down to like my boots, like, because it was all team stuff. I didn't have anything at that point, you know?
Wow.
So yeah, I missed Dallas, and then I went pro the next weekend as a fill-in because Gannon Audette got hurt on, I think it was called AG Motorsports, KTM. You remember that team? It was with Al Biker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went pro with them. I didn't ride the bike until Atlanta. Went terribly, and then the next weekend we were able to bounce back with it. I think I got 15th. I remember crashing in the last corner, and it was like a mud race, and I crashed in the last corner and couldn't get my bike to start. That was awesome, but yeah, it was a rough start to going pro. It was not easy.
So that was 2012.
Yep.
And then, so I know you said the Atlanta, the Daytona. What was 13?
So 13, so I'll go kind of back a little bit. So 12, I ended up doing like 2 more races. Honestly, the bike was breaking every time I rode it. So
Was it still for them?
Yeah, it was still, I ended up signing like for the rest of the season, but
Okay.
literally I think it finished 1 moto of outdoors. Like I think I finished like a single moto out of like, I think 9 or something that I did.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, bike was bad. It was terrible. It would not stay together. The next year I was full privateer. Like literally I had a pickup truck. I financed a bike with my cousin, and we were just like, let's just go, you know. And it went really bad all year. Like, it was tough. Had 1 bike, no money. Like, we were struggling, but we just kept fighting and kept going. And
Wow.
yeah, we ended up. I think we scored like national number 99 that year. Like, it was like, I think I had 15 points out of the entire year.
Huh.
And yeah, they ended up building up like my own program after that, and just kind of kept going and ended up getting some rides, and yeah.
So go through some of those rides. What were the teams? I mean, you're talking 13, obviously 14, 15.
Yeah.
I know I was looking at your results. I did the RacerX Vault, which I love. And it was a 5th, I think, in Seattle, and 18.
Yep.
Was that on your own?
No, so 14, I did out of my parents' show hauler. We had a sponsor that was basically paying for all the fuel, entry fees, everything. It was actually amazing for me at the time. I had gotten 2 Hondas from a dealership in, I believe it was Oklahoma, and I basically just drove the motor home, and my dad would fly in a mechanic for me, and we were just like, let's just go racing. And I did okay that year, nothing to really write home about. Going into, well, actually at the end of 14, end of 14, I ended up getting on Motorsport Honda for Vegas. And no, I'm getting my years mixed up. 14.
It's hard for me to remember that
15. What was it, 15? I don't know. I can't remember. No, so 13. I don't know. I'm a little bit backwards on my years here. But one of the years I went to Yamaha. I did like my program for 2 years. And I went to Yamaha, and that was a really good year for me. That's when I went to Motorsport. And I believe the next year, no, that was in 15. Sorry, 15 Supercross, I was on Yamaha. And so I did 2 years like my own program. I guess you could say it was JSR Motorsports, but it wasn't. It was just kind of like a, Justin Starling Racing, I guess you could call it at the time, but that's not what JSR stands for. But we ended up going with that, and I signed with Motorsport Honda for the last Vegas Supercross. Did pretty well with them. Did a couple outdoors with them, but it was like a fill-in gig. I think it was for Tommy Hahn at the time.
Yeah.
And then I signed with Traders Kawasaki to finish the season, to finish outdoors. That was when I hole shot at Budds Creek and had like I think I got 11th that moto, but like it was a pretty decent year. Signed with them for 2016. Did Supercross with them, and then that was kind of where I was like not really interested in going outdoors anymore. I was like, I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I want to do something Supercross only and just kind of run that. And then, so I ended up, I think I raced like 1 or 2 outdoors just to kind of stay relevant, because as soon as you don't race outdoors, you kind of get forgotten about a little bit. So at the time I was like, I should still stay relevant. I'll do a couple. Then 17, I went on JMC, Husqvarna. And I got an 8th. That was my first ever top 10 on West Coast. Didn't do outdoors again. Just basically just hung out. Knew I was going to get a ride the next year, and I ended up going to AJE Motorsports for 2018 and 2019.
Was that part of the Gas Monkey deal?
Yes. Yeah. So the first year was just AJE Motorsports, and then the second year was Gas Monkey.
Yeah. I watched the show online. Or on TV. So you see the Gas Monkey thing with whatever, Richard Rollins, whatever. So I saw the logo. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
But then continuing on from there, so that was what, 18, 19?
Yeah, 18, 19. I got my first top 5 in the lights class, and then quite a few top 10s. I think I got a 7th at a Triple Crown, which I thought was pretty good because I'm usually really bad at those. So I was pretty happy with that. And then going into 2020, 2020 I signed with that Chaparral Honda, and that was a complete disaster. And after 4 rounds and 4 different mechanics and everything just kind of going south with the team, I left, went back to AJE, and I was during the whole COVID time. So we did like the whole Salt Lake, like 7 races or whatever. Stayed there the whole time, and I rode for AJE at that point, and that was actually pretty good. But the thing for me is I was just kind of tired of signing these 250 contracts with these teams that were, I'm not going to say not good, but you deal with a lot of stuff behind the scenes that you don't want to deal with. And no matter what's in the contract, they usually don't provide what's in that contract. So I was kind of over it at that point. I'm like, man, I want to ride the 450 and get out of this situation.
Yeah.
So I ended up just starting my own little JSR thing. And the first year I ran it out of a Chevy Express van, little, like the short one, not even a long one.
Yep.
And that went pretty well. Not the best season, but made some good mains and did all right. And then in 2022 is when it really took off, and now we're going into 24 doing the same thing.
Well, a little bit of a change though.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
we'll talk.
there's some changes.
We'll go into that, but let's finish off 23, 8th at Salt Lake City.
Yeah. So Salt Lake's been good to me. I've gone 9 and 8 the last 2 years there. Anything with elevation, I don't know why, but I'm really good at it. So, which is weird because I live in Florida, know.
But Salt Lake's a pretty cool little town too, man.
Yeah,
it's a cool little vibe.
I enjoy it there.
But so 23 actually, finishes off pretty good.
Yep.
And you were running the gas this year.
The last 2 years, 22 and 23.
Yeah. So now we got a little bit of a change.
Yep.
We're going to the number 66.
Yep.
And we're going to a Honda.
Yeah, we're on the Honda now.
Yeah. What do you think?
I love it.
Yeah.
It was.
It looks sweet.
Yeah. So I wanted to have like the factory look, because I have Honda support. So I wanted it to be as close to the factory look as I could get without stepping on their toes. And they were cool with it. They were actually really stoked about it. But man, the first day I rode the bike, I was like, man, this is exactly what I need to be riding. And if you go back to my amateur career, like I think someone brought this up. I think I did 9 years on Hondas, which to me sounded crazy. But I just knew right away, like this was the right move. And then the first day I rode Supercross on it, it was like, I almost wasted the last 2 years on a gas type of thing, like I knew immediately I felt this good. And and then we haven't even done any testing yet. Like I've literally just been doing laps, so I know once we start doing some testing and all that, it's going to be even better. So yeah, it's awesome. I'm stoked.
So for the people that don't know, you're a professional rider. You made every main but one this year when you were hurt that one, right?
2. Yeah, I got hurt in Tampa, and then I shouldn't have even gone to Oakland, but I went, so I missed that one too. So yeah, two mains.
Who or what makes you decide what brand?
Me. No, it was a full me decision. I mean, it's my program, right? And it was, I was ready for a change, I think was the biggest thing. And no matter what, I had to make a change because the new gas was a different frame. Like all the parts were basically different besides the forks.
Yeah. So you're basically restarting.
Yeah. I was going to have to restart regardless. So it was one of those things. I was like, okay, do I do a restart on the same brand that doesn't support me? Like I don't even get a bolt from those guys, or do I get a Honda and get support? Yeah, okay, Honda, immediately.
Yeah.
But I also did a lot of my training with Sexton at the time. So, I'm seeing his bike and everything, and I'm like, yeah, that thing looks good. And of course, Chase makes everything look good.
Right.
But I was like, man, that thing looks good. Like, I'd sit on his bike. I'm like, man, this thing just feels like right for me. And yeah, I actually went in, I think it was the week of Atlanta Supercross, I bought one. I was like, I'm just going to go buy one and just start building it in the summer. And just that way, when the season's over, I have a bike ready to go. And I'm not going to be like wasting time on the gas cast anymore. And I got the bike. And yeah, like I said, I took a lot of the summer off. But as soon as I got on the bike, it was immediate. Like, this was the move.
Yeah. I mean, didn't we get married this summer?
Yeah, we did get married. That was why I took a lot of time off.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
I think that justifies taking a little time.
Yeah. A lot of people were like, we're not going to try for SMX and all this stuff. And I said, honestly, no, this year is going to be based around, getting married and living that life a little bit and separate the motorcycle.
Yeah.
And she spent all Supercross season working during the week and then flying in Friday night, working all day Saturday with me, and then flying out Sunday and like just nonstop. I'm like, who am I if I don't
spend a little time?
Yeah, like get away from the dirt bike for a bit and fully indulge in this and the honeymoon and all that. So
no, I fully understand it. And Shane, you know it too from being in the team side of things.
Yeah.
But for us, when we initially started Future MX, we were doing a lot of stuff through KTM.
Yeah.
And when we made the decision to switch over to Cowie, and we were getting some Cowie support, but you literally have to change everything.
Everything.
Like your entire semi truck, all your parts,
Yep.
everything.
Change the color of your hat.
Yeah. And you do. You have to rebrand the truck. You have to rebrand all your clothing. And all the way down to small things like just, parts full of subframes and sprockets and bolts. Like every bit of that has to change because none of it works.
I'm still selling parts that I have from this season.
Yeah,
it's insane.
That's like I showed you before we got on the episode.
Yeah.
I've got so much Cowie parts left, from this season right now, and the 24 Cowie is very similar on the 450 side. That it's going to be an all new bike.
Yep.
So a lot of that stuff doesn't work and go back and forth. So I can see, where you're coming from as far as changing to a brand that's supporting you. You would have had to basically restart anyway.
Yeah, no matter what I was
even
gonna
if
do.
you would have stayed on gas. So, that's a big thing. And I know you with the way that you detail the truck and keep everything so organized. You basically have to take everything out and restart.
You know how many times we changed brands at 22 Motorsports?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
got the truck and restart. It was quite a feat. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. So that brings you up to current, kind of go through this year with 2023. Next year, we're going number 66 on a Honda, JSR. What does JSR mean?
So, you guess you could say it's Justin Starling Racing, but honestly, it was John Sebastian Waugh, longtime friend of my dad, and he kind of, I guess, paved the way for me a little bit with knowing that this is what I wanted to do because he was always around and he was winning championships in Canada and so on. And I was like, man, I was going to start my own thing. Like, they always called us JSR back in the day, and it was like, okay, let's just keep that going. So we started JSR, and then I put Motorsports behind it for an LLC purpose, and that's just kind of where it is.
Well, even on the videos that you put out, which I know, we'll get into that too and talk about some of that, but you did the one about the bike build, and I saw it when we were coming back from an event. How clean that thing is. And I know you talked about trying to mimic the Honda, but that's always, for me, keep it clean. Like, make the bike look good. And I know, Duke, you do that too, even with Peter's stuff. Like, just the graphics don't have to be too busy. Don't overdo it. Keep it clean. And that's one thing I love about even how you put the JSR in the shroud.
That's cool, huh? People love that.
I do. I love it. You're used to seeing the CRF there.
Yeah.
But the JSR in the shroud, it's just so clean. So I love that. So what's the 2024 plan? I know Honda.
Yep.
But you're doing the full 450 Supercross?
Yeah. Always do the full season. I have I guess I haven't really had a goal in a while because I've gotten my top 10s and a couple times now. I think 3 times in the 450 class, which is nothing really to write home about, but still it's a cool accomplishment for me.
Sure.
But this year, we have troll training, so we're going to be definitely more fit than we've ever been. I already feel better. I'm down actually like 7 pounds. Summer was a good one for me. I had a lot of, alcoholic beverages and so on to really enjoy this whole wedding. But
Yeah.
I feel good. The bike's going to be really good, but yeah, we'll do all 17. I've got 95 total main events right now. So I'm like, man, it'd be cool to like, hit a little milestone of 100. So I'm excited to get that this year or this coming year. And outdoors is a little bit up in the air for us. I'd like to do a few because, SMX, I guess, technically is our future now. So it's like, well, you're going to have to do that. And I don't want to do the LCQ. Like, I did 2 of them this year just to kind of do them and for contract stuff. And, I don't want to do the LCQ. I want to go straight in. So goal is to, accumulate enough points in Supercross to where you're kind of past that threshold, and then you can just kind of maintain that. And then do that. But, program should be good. It's going to be a little bit bigger than we had this past year. Still have a Sprinter van, but more canopy space and so on. And never really had posters or anything like that, but we're going to do all that this year. We're going to do the YouTube stuff this year, the social media side, and just try to make it a little bit more, I guess you could just say modern. Like I still in my mind, I want to do like old school and just, put the money in the bike and go racing. But that's not how it is anymore. You got to do this social media, this.
Oh, trust me. Shane and I talk about that all the time. Back when Shane, remember the different displays you had to put up at every different round?
Oh yeah.
Tire racks and whatever sponsor wanted out there on display.
I don't even think we used social media back then. It was just all what you saw at the races.
Yeah, I would love for it to be that way still,
Yeah.
but it's now not one sponsor asks you about a result. They ask you about your social media following, and I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, what? Does my results not mean anything? And they're like, well, like, can you post this on Instagram? And I'm like,
it's true.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I go back all the time. And even with us right now, which we'll talk a little bit about what's going on out at the facility, but when you're going to these sponsors and you're talking about, logo placement on the bike or logo placement on the truck, well, how many followers do you have? What's your, between Instagram.
Who are you reaching?
And
That's how
even
you judge today.
Yeah.
It is. Absolutely it is. And I think that you do a great job at that, of trying to maintain your following and your friends and putting out content online. That's like right now you're releasing these videos, which, do you want to talk about that a little bit? You're going to try and do like either a weekly or a bi-weekly drop? Or what are you doing?
So we have a filmer now. His name's Daniel with Throttle Burst. He's going to handle all the social media side of things. So a lot of the posts you'll see like on my Instagram, it's me, but it's kind of him creating it. And then it's like us putting it together on how we should do it. Cause I don't know how to do any of that marketing stuff, or make this post or that or this. And then like the YouTube, he's running all of that. So, he'll fly in once a month, to basically film for a couple days and get some content that we can use. And then he'll be at every round. So we'll be able to have videos from every race and so on. And it's basically what you have to do these days. Like you have to have content rolling. And, I think we're on day 3 or 4 of really pushing content out. And it's kind of wild to see how much just like my reach has grown on Instagram and YouTube. So
from the people that like support you, you say you sign a contract with this said company.
Yeah.
Do they ever within the contract say, hey, like you need to put out this much per week or per month or put stipulations on it like that?
Not so much like that. They'll ask for like, hey, can we get 1 or 2 stories a month or something like that. I haven't dealt with the company, which I'm sure I will eventually here soon, that's asking me to put out this much content or this or that. It's still a little bit early. It's still only October, right? So it's early, but it's not. But yeah, I think we're going to just try to basically we're going to basically try to annoy people with how much we post, and I know that might not be what a lot of people want, but it's what I need to do. And basically just show the sponsors like, hey, there's content rolling every day. There's something getting posted about this or that. Even if I just go take a photo of my exhaust and I'm posting something for a sponsor, like boom, like this, and then they repost it and then it gets to their reach and then it grows us more. That's what I'm going to do. So,
even in our rider contracts, like what we have, we put in there that, you have to tag us in everything that that you're putting up because part of the thing that I think is probably the hardest for people to understand, and even riders right now, like oh, I deserve this, this, and this, whatever, right? So you feel in your mind that you've earned this reputation, but at the same time, as a business or a sponsor that's going to give you something, there has to be an ROI for us.
Absolutely.
So the return on investment, like if I'm doing something for you, whether it's covering an entry fee or covering races or, you know, helping with parts or bike, what is my ROI?
Right.
And when I see somebody, you know, go post something online, they don't tag any of their sponsors, they're not thanking anybody on there, I'm immediately like, man, that guy's not going to be a good fit for us.
Right.
Yep. And you always kind of keep that in mind. So I would think that's one thing to try and explain to people now. I don't care if you're just getting graphics from somebody. I mean, make sure you thank them, make sure you're putting your stuff out there to do it. And I think that's a great job that you do. I mean, even with the stuff that you've put out here lately, you know, I mean, I think it's awesome.
Yeah. It's what you have to do. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, people don't really understand, like, we'll go back to just graphics. Like, okay, you get a free set of graphics. Most people are like, oh, okay, it's just stickers. Well, it costs that company money.
Sure.
You know, so like, why don't you give back to them by posting something? If it sells one set, well, now they've made money.
Yeah.
So help them. You know, they're helping you help them. So, yeah, I mean, you got to tag the people. You got to make sure that you're giving back. Like, I think that's my biggest thing. And I think the past few years I haven't been the best at that because I'm so like just focused on the racing side. You know, it's tough to be like a team owner, team manager, rider.
Very much.
And putting, you know, the cap on for everyone. I mean, Chad's done it, you know, and all that. Like, it's tough, you know. But I don't have any help with getting these sponsors. Like, it's just me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, how many people do you have involved in your program? Like, is just you and a mechanic, or?
Yeah, it's as of right now, it's just me.
Just you?
Yeah, like, my wife helped me out a lot this past year. But now she's just finished cosmetology school, so I'm like, yeah, you need to chase your dream too. So I'm like, don't worry about like my program. I'll figure my stuff out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just me. Nice. I don't have a mechanic locked in next year or anything like that. So yeah, right now it's like if you see a deal getting done or something, it's like that's me doing it all. So yeah, from, you know, when I wake up to, you know, go run, then go ride, then come home, work on the bike and get emails done, I'm knocking it all out. So it's a lot.
Would you say, since you started your own program, because you spoke earlier about, you know, signing mediocre contracts, people didn't, you know.
Oh, I could get into that.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah.
I don't know if we want to bring that up, but would you say that all that mess that you probably dealt with was a blessing in disguise to start your own program? Yes. And would you, like, you're happier doing that versus dealing with all that?
Yep. I don't regret any of it. Like, yeah, at the time I would definitely have gone a different direction, but looking back on it, I learned so much because I've been on teams like Traders. Cowie was great. Like, they were so good to me, and they ran it the way it should be ran, like for a small B-level team, I guess you would say. So I saw how a team, you know, at that level should run, and then I've gone to other teams where I saw that that's the last thing you should do. And everything that they were doing, you're like, don't do that. Like, I know how that's not going to work. And all of a sudden it doesn't work, but they don't listen to you, right? You're just a rider. So I learned so much about what you should and shouldn't do, that going into building my own program, I kind of had an idea of what to do. Now, I wasn't doing it like you guys with the semis and stuff. I just had like a Sprinter van. Yeah. But for me, I was like, I'd rather keep it small, and any money that we get, like, put it into the bike. Hey, let's put it into travel. Like, let's do it the right way. And, you know, if I was a 2-rider deal, then yeah, okay, going a semi would be the right route. But it's just me, you know, and I just want to be able to go race the best that I can. And yeah, I would say definitely signing with those teams in the past, I learned more than I should have ever learned.
Right.
You would get to do it your way.
Yeah.
The way that you've been taught, experience, good or bad. Yeah,
and I think the biggest thing is, like, just making sure that everything is done in order. I'm a perfectionist, right? You know.
Sure.
I think you could see that in the bike.
Yeah, and like that bike, like doing that video, like I didn't want to do it because the bike's not done, you know? Like my suspension from that bike's in my truck right now. I'm going to go drop it off at Active Ride from here, you know? But like that was a bike that's going to be my race bike. The 23 and 24 is the exact same bike. I don't need to get a 24. It's the same thing, you know? The frame sticker looks different. Big deal. Yeah. But it was, I just want everything done perfectly. Like, you should see how long it takes me to wash my motorcycle because I'm so worried about getting into some spots I shouldn't. It takes me 2 hours, you know, but every day my bike looks brand new and it works perfectly because I'm like, do it, practice the way you want to go racing. That's the way I look at it. So
that's a great mentality.
Yeah, like you don't show up to there's gonna be days where I'll ride with the bike dirty the next day, but like I work on it the same. Like I check spokes, whatever. I can go into that whole thing, but with my program, I just want to be professional. Like I want it to look right, and people respect my program. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is I just want people to be like, your program is like something we admire to be like, and like you see Moran's this year, he's gone off and done his own thing. I've been telling him for 2 years to do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what you should do, and this is how you should do it. And he's now doing it. I'm like, that's the best way you can go.
Yeah.
Because you can sign these little deals with all these B-level teams, but a lot of the times it's in your contract you're not going to get, and you're going to deal with more of a headache. Like, go do it on your own, get the sponsors, build a relationship with them, and then you have a nice foundation, and no matter what, like, you're good, and then you have assets too on top of it, but yeah, like I said,
trust me, having a semi going all around's not
Well, if anybody doesn't respect the fact that you're doing it on your own, I mean, you're a complete idiot because it's not easy. I know it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's tough, but man, I love it.
Yeah.
And it's also like, to me, the coolest thing is like when you get everything together and you show up at Anaheim and you get the setup put together for the first time and you're looking at everything, you're like, I did that.
That's just me.
Yeah, and then when you go out and you get a top 10 or something, or just you make X amount of mains, and you're like, I've done all this. Like
Right.
Yeah, I have some help at the races. Obviously, you have to have a mechanic, but
it's got to be pretty rewarding.
it is the most rewarding thing. Like to me, that is like the coolest thing. And like every time I get home from the season, I'm just like, we did it. Like that was badass. And I'm 30 years old, thinking like a 15-year-old at this point, because I'm just like, man, that was so cool. Like I
Right.
loved every minute of that. And
Especially if you can go out there and get top 10s, against all these teams you're talking about.
Yeah, on a bike that I built.
On everything that you built.
Yeah, and like when I'm battling with McElrath at Salt Lake, and I'm just like, you're past champion, or no, I don't think he ever won a championship, but he's won races.
Yeah.
And I'm on a bike that I built, and a lot of people didn't know, but my bikes this year are my bikes from last year. Like I didn't get new bikes. Like my practice bike from the year prior, and then also this year was my race bike from Atlanta on. Because my other bike just felt like it was timed out. I'm
Right.
like, I need to just ride this other one. So
Yeah.
to go out and like build these bikes and then compete on them and be competitive is like the most rewarding thing.
Right.
Like, so that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
It's a passion.
Yeah, there's so much passion for me. Like, dude, that's a perfect way to say it. Like for me to go racing, like the passion is there.
Yeah.
And then building these bikes, if you see it in my builds, like they're pretty good. But they're not overly done. I don't do. I'm not Cerakoting the brakes because it looks cool. Like I don't do it. It's fine. I don't feel like I need it.
Yeah.
They get beat up. It looks like crap. I don't want it to be done the right way. So,
Right.
yeah, it's cool. I enjoy
Well,
it.
one thing that we talked about, you're 30 years old now.
Yep.
Just got married.
Yep.
You
And a kid on the way.
Yeah, saw that. Got a baby en route.
Yeah.
Talk about it from your perspective of being in the sport at the professional level now for 10 plus years. Highs and lows. We talk about it on almost every guest that comes on. What is your favorite part about this right now?
I think my favorite part is, it's kind of tough, but I'll be honest with you, I think my favorite part's the work right now. Like just putting in the work.
Yeah.
It's always nice when you start fresh and you have like a good bike and everything like that, and like a new facility that we're at, and like that's right now my favorite. But I think just when you get that good result, or even if you just come out and like, to me, like there is no bad result.
Yeah.
I know that sounds kind of cliche, but if you've learned something from that race, you're now bettering yourself. So yeah, I would say like just learning, maybe if we want to put it on something, like just learning every weekend is probably my like the high for me, no matter where I finish.
Yeah.
And then the low, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really dealt with too many lows.
Well, what about just the whole grind in general? Like, what about the travel? Like, do you enjoy the travel, or do you hate the travel?
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, like there's last year, 2022, I drove every race. Just myself in the van drove and went on. And this year I got to fly a lot, which was awesome. But even when I was driving, man, I kind of loved it.
Now, when you're driving, obviously professional, the series is all over the place, which we're going to talk about the series. We both posted about it online. But when you're driving, are you coming all the way back to Florida between rounds?
No,
Or you
I'm usually living on the road.
staying somewhere?
Yeah. This year I plan to fly again. That's hopes, if everything works out. But no, I don't come back to Florida. It's too far.
So you're staying somewhere, riding somewhere during the week?
No, not even riding.
Really?
Yeah, last year. That's why my practice bike was my practice bike again, because my bike last year had, I think, 10 hours on it by end of Supercross.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was still brand new, basically. And then my race bike had way more time on it. It's a little bit rough, but like this year, I plan to keep a bike in Florida at all times, and then 2 in the van, to where if I do have to stay on the road, I have a practice bike kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when I can fly back and forth, then I'll be able to have a bike here.
Yeah. Shane, when you were driving, I mean, you were basically going race to race, right?
Yeah, you don't come home.
You're not going back. I mean, you got schedules and stuff that you got to get done during the week, like stuff on the truck and getting things done with it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there wasn't really a day off, because obviously the mechanics flying in, they build the bikes, and before that,
Building on Friday or building on Sunday?
every team does it different.
Okay.
But during the week, obviously, whatever happened that weekend inside that truck or whatever, and it's all day, every day, pretty much.
Yeah. And I mean, you're doing that on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a lot, but that is actually kind of bring that back. Like, people do it different. I never really understood that. I always thought it was on Sundays, and then this year I started to see like PC builds on Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Cowie builds Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Yep.
I built Thursday, Friday a few times. Usually I don't frame my bikes every week.
Right.
I'm a privateer. But
It's a lot of work.
it's a lot of work. Like, I only did it maybe 3 or 4 times this season. That's just after, X amount of races, you do it. Then you see some guys doing it on Sunday. It kind of changes, which is pretty wild for me. But
That's like us, with our semi. The only ones that have driven our semi to a race has either been myself or Shane, because we're the only ones that have a CDL.
Right.
And when we roll in, like, a lot of people don't know this because they've never done it, but you have a certain time that they tell you have to show up, and you have to be in your parking order. So you're going to follow, and it changes every week.
Yes.
So when we went in, like, let's just use Tampa, for example, we had to be in the parking lot in the staging area, like Thursday at 10 a.m. or 10:45. We were supposed to get right behind, Hep Suzuki. Then we pull in, and you got to start setting up, getting the awning out, and everything like that. But then I'm looking over there at their mechanics at PC, and they're doing bike builds on Thursday, and Friday
down that little driveway
in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Right outside the back of their trailer.
I was a Sunday guy, promoter. Like, now Sunday. Obviously, Supercross, it's a late night, so it was a struggle on Sunday. But my only issue was because I'm perfectionist.
Yeah. If you had anything wrong, you have time to get something else coming, right? Like parts or.
Yeah, but I put all that into perspective. But I was like, hey, listen, let's do Sundays, because then you guys are out of my hair until Saturday. And like, so when they did Thursday builds, I would literally like have the truck spotless, and they would come in like a freaking tornado.
Yeah,
and so I would have to do it twice.
Wreck it for the weekend.
Yeah, they're like, just leave it, Shane. Just leave. No. Like, it has to be perfect rolling into the race. You know?
Yeah.
I was the same way.
Yeah.
I would like to do everything on Sunday morning, get as much done as I could. Then when I'm done with that, I clean the van out, and then I send whoever was driving at that time on. And I'm like, cool, I'll see you on Friday.
Right.
All we got to do is unload.
Well, here's another aspect of it too. So say the truck gets in a wreck, or you break down or whatever, those bikes are already built.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like, everything's done.
Yeah.
So I just don't get the Thursday
I
thing.
remember when we rolled in, I was sitting there for staging. I was right there with Dino, which is Roxon's motorhome driver. And Dino and I were sitting there, and I was looking over next to me, and like both of the Suzuki trucks, they had, the two, they had the Progressive and the Hep, and they were washing their truck on Thursday. And I was like, well, that actually makes sense, because they just made the drive. So all the road, travel debris and bugs and whatever. So they're washing their truck in the parking lot on Thursday before we got in line for staging. And I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which, like you said, everybody does it different.
Yeah.
But you want that thing to look good rolling in.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But so the highs and the lows, we've talked a lot for the people that have been on multiple different episodes. Travel's usually one. Fans, I don't know if you feel like they're a pest to you, like they're bugging you because you're trying to focus on race day, or if you embrace that fact and enjoy it.
I love them.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's good for you because like here you enjoy putting in the work, but you also realize, yes, you are an athlete,
Yep.
but at the same time you're an entertainer,
Yes.
right? And I think
No, we are a traveling circus.
and I
100%.
that's a good way to put it.
Well, hence Feld.
Yes. No, literally. I mean, like, we are a traveling circus, and I don't mean that in disrespect. That's what we are.
That's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
That is exactly what it is. And like, I've said it to people, and they're like, "Can't believe you would like, talk bad about that." I'm like, that's not talking bad. That's what we are.
Right.
Like, we are entertainment.
And
like
people-
Feld Entertainment puts it on.
People are paying to come watch you.
Yes, they come by to see us. They come by to. They don't sit there. Like they come to watch.
Yeah.
So we're putting on a show.
Yeah, and
of course,
that's-
we're racing, but like, okay, Monster Jam, they're putting on a show.
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing. Like we're getting paid to do it. That's what we're a show.
No, I respect that a lot because you do get some guys that are like, oh, I'm trying to focus and people are bugging me all day and, I can't stand that part of it. And I just sit back a little bit and I'm like, dude, those people that are bugging you are the ones that paying the bill.
They're why we're there.
Yeah.
That's what I always say.
If nobody showed up, then it wouldn't be there.
Yeah, there'd be times like I'm watching film or something or talking to a mechanic or someone, and someone will walk up and be like, sorry to bug you. And I'm like, no, you're good.
Yeah.
Like, give me 5 seconds, let me do this, and then I'll come back to talking to the person because we wouldn't be there if it wasn't for them. If fans stop showing up, well, no sponsors are going to pay us to get to the races, and then what are we doing? Then it's over.
Right.
So, for me, like I will always take the time out because I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for them. And if I can't take, we'll say a minute of my day,
Yeah.
I mean, who am I then?
Well, I saw you did one with a little kid, like young kid. He was, I don't know.
Yeah, Miguel.
Yeah.
Yeah, in LA.
I saw you did one with that, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, he walked up, and that was actually the first time I met him. I've known of him for a while. He actually lives, I think, in like Zephyr Hills or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a local kid.
Okay.
But he walked up with a mic and was just like, I want to ask you a question. I was like, absolutely. You only asked me one question. I'm like, come on, dude, give me another question. Like, if this is what you're doing, like, don't just walk in and ask one question. You got to like give them to me, So, I thought that was pretty cool.
No, that was. I enjoyed that a lot. And I know you talked about, being rejuvenated, new facility, stuff like that. So we'll go into that a little bit. I actually showed Duke, you just had, what is it, the 360 camera?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you just did one of those and you did it at our place because,
Yep.
you're riding out there at the future facility. And I showed Duke the Supercross track because, there's the layout and whatever. And I got to meet you out there when we went and tested it. I asked you to come up because 402 just finished it.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, and great input.
They didn't even get their dozer off the track.
It was in the whoops.
Right away.
It was sitting right in the whoops. But no, it's good because someone like you, I mean, you've got the experience. Obviously, I mean, we talked about going pro 2012.
Yeah.
Now we're going into 2024. So you're talking about 12 years of racing at the professional level.
Yes.
And you come in and it's nice because, you can talk about shifting, obstacle spacing
Yep.
or moving the whoops or making a finish line take off steeper or
Yep.
whatever. But I will say that very first time you came out there, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it or not, but that triple's big.
The clay one?
The triple after the straightaway.
Oh yeah, you saw me case that thing. Yeah. It was so weird. Like I rolled it the first lap. I'm like, it's like a normal triple, like okay, whatever. And then the other triple, like to me, I thought they were the same size. The other one's definitely bigger.
Yeah.
And the other one, the non-clay one, you come to it so fast too. So I was like, this thing is easy. So I'm like, went to the other one. I'm like, yeah. Nope. Nope. My rear hung up on that thing heavy. I'm glad I made it as far as I did because if it was anything shorter,
It would have hurt.
it would have been bad. But I was like, man, you got to hit that thing pretty quick. And I remember when Blaze came out there, I think last week, I was like, hey, when you go to hit that triple on the clay one, hit it wide open. Like, land long, dude. Like, do not go slow. And I think I freaked him out when I said that because the whole first day he didn't jump it. And I was like, you
screwed with his mind.
I screwed with his mind. And then I told Pusai, I'm like, hey, you might want to lay that face down a little bit because that thing shoots you to the moon. And it's already so big that, like, you should maybe not go to the moon on this thing. But, that thing is big.
Yeah, but it's cool though because your experience, like you come in and we talk about spacing between obstacles and the rhythms, and obviously Brad and the boys over at 402. I mean, they do a great job. I mean, it's unbelievable what they can do.
I was going to ask him because you've probably obviously ridden in a lot of tracks.
Yep.
When somebody builds a track like that, no matter who it is, because a lot of people have opinions about this, especially Dazzy. How comparable to that is, a track that you would ride on a normal Saturday, say in Phoenix?
Yeah, so I've rode Dream Tracks. I've rode 402. I've rode, I keep forgetting this guy's name, but he did a lot of the arena cross tracks.
Poulter.
But he's Poulter. Yeah, Poulter's, good eye on that one.
Randy Poulter.
Yeah, Randy. I've rode a couple of his tracks. Like when I was at Chambers Tracks the past few years, he had Dream Tracks do a set of the whoops. Then you had 402 do a set of the whoops, and then he's had Poulter do a set of whoops, and they're all built so differently. So it's like you kind of get a little bit of everything, but when you go to the race, it's just so different no matter what. Like
Right.
there is,
Well, it's built different.
yeah, there's really no way to be the exact same because every track builder builds differently.
Yeah.
There's not one that has the exact same obstacle. So unless you have Dream Tracks come and do it, it's pretty tough, you know. But Dream Tracks can or not Dream Tracks, Dirtworks. Sorry,
Dirtworks.
those guys build the races. Unless you have them come do it, which they charge a fortune because they can, you know. It's going to be different every time. But that's where I was talking like Pooh. I'm like, hey, like let's this jump needs to be pushed back, I think, a little bit. And then the first set of whoops we rode, I thought were like a little bit too short and steep. So I'm like, let's space these things further and make them bigger. That's why I like the dozers on the track.
Yeah.
But I told him, I'm like, let's just change a few things here and there. Like we can, you know, after we ride it for so long, like of course we're gonna get bored. We're gonna need to, like sometimes I do a different rhythm in the rhythm sections, even if it's slower, but just to do something different.
Right.
I'm like, hey, let's, you know, I was talking about it, like, let's take out one of the singles on the outside so we can do a completely different rhythm, and then let's build this bigger and build this smaller and build this way. It's nice to have that kind of freedom to be able to do that. But yeah, when you go to the race, it's always going to be different, no matter what you ride and how you ride it.
Well, the reason why I'm asking that is because, like, say you train at RJ's track until January.
Yeah.
Like, when you get to Anaheim or whatever the first round is, I don't know the schedule. I haven't looked at it. But when you go, it's obviously Anaheim. But does it screw with you because those tracks are built so much different?
No.
No.
I think if you're someone new, maybe. But for me, that's why I do a bunch of different rhythms. There's probably going to be a couple days where I ride the track backwards the whole day,
Right.
just to be different. And then you got to get comfortable to where you can put sprint laps down on that. And then that's where I told him, like, hey, the clay triple, you know, maybe in December, let's take that out and let's build a rhythm down that lane, you know, and just be different, you know, like let's start switching it up and like, let's take some of the rhythms and like, hey, let's take the dozer and after it rains and like, let's dig everything down and make everything a foot taller. Mm-hmm. Then it changes it all. And then, but you have to change lanes. If you run that same layout from now until Anaheim, not going to be that good. You're going to be stuck to like kind of the same thing the whole time, no matter what. But if you go in there and you change 3 jumps in a rhythm and you just kind of move them around and it changes the entire flow, that's fine. I mean, there's going to be times where I'm going to have to go ride something else just because you have to. You can't be stuck on one thing, you know? Like maybe I'll go to California a week early and ride some out there. Or I know with Truman, I can go to the Dog Pound, I think they call it, like once or twice, you know, just to do some testing. So it'll be nice to ride that. You know, maybe I'll drive up to Georgia for a couple of days or something. Just you're going to have to switch it up no matter what. But if you do some lane changes and you know, hey, this lane is slower if you do this rhythm, but just do it to switch it up. You know, like if it's usually the line.
But even when you're doing that though, like when you're talking about doing a different rhythm, like that's improving timing.
Yes,
you know, and,
absolutely.
And you're still progressing, even if it's not the fastest lap of you know, of your session of your.
Hey, you don't always have to chase the clock.
Exactly.
No. I don't really believe in the chasing the clock thing. I believe in chasing
your skill set.
It's not even that. It's intensity. You're chasing intensity. So hey, you know, the main line in one of the rhythms is 3-3-2-2 because you go off of like a lay down 3. I know it's kind of hard to explain it, or lay down 5. You can go 3-3-3 single, but it's slower going into the corner. You can go 2-3-3-2. There's gonna be times where I go 2-2-3-3 just to switch it up because like, okay, what if you come out of that corner at a race and you mess up and you go 2 in but you case it,
right? And
then you have to go 2 again. Well, then you don't know the rhythm. Like that's why in practice, like at the race, I do like 4 different lines and everything. I don't care what it is because like you have to do those at some point in the race.
Or if you're in Houston and you land on a hay bale on the triple out of the rhythm in Houston.
Talking about me?
Yeah.
No, that was a quad.
Oh, that was a quad.
Yeah.
That was a quad.
Yeah, well, I saw
landed on the hay bale.
Yeah, I saw Sexton go 3-4 in that rhythm, And I'm riding with Sexton every week. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And I went 3 in, seat bounce 4, and cross-rutted and shot left into the triple face. And landed on the hay bale and just did a front flip. So I have the scars on my hand from that one.
Yeah,
that
I
was
was
a good
sitting right in front of you.
That was a good one. Hey, everyone was like, dude, why would you even try that? And next practice I did it again. I made it, but I was like...
There was only a handful of guys that were even doing it.
Yeah, and I was doing it like the whole LCQ and like a lot of the main.
I think you were the only one in the LCQ.
Yeah, I was like, it's not a hard jump. I just cross-rutted. Like, I just landed. Those ones are nice because when you land, you just hold it wide open. Like, there's no judging it. You just go to the moon as fast as you can. But yeah, I landed right. That was a good one. That was a good one.
That's a good one.
That hay bale wasn't there, I would have rode it out, but not the nice front flip. Bike was upside down.
It's just so funny. Like, just hold it wide open. Like, imagine riding a two-stroke back in the day and trying that.
Think we go,
trusting,
blah, blah.
trusting that your carburetor is going to actually perform.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Dude, that was intense. And I was sitting right in front of it watching the whole thing. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But so we talked about Houston. Let's bring up the schedule for next year.
Yeah.
So last year, privateer guy out of Florida, even us as a team out of Florida, pretty favorable schedule for a Florida-based guy last year.
Yeah, if you do East Coast, it's not too bad.
You got Tampa involved. You got Atlanta's there. Daytona's there. I mean, those are close races for you.
Yeah.
Right? Even Nashville.
Yes.
That's
fine. That's
day
an easy
trip
one.
stuff.
Yeah.
2024 schedule, Atlanta gone for the first time in years.
I'm not mad about that, by the way.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
But Florida-based guy, Tampa's gone, Atlanta's gone. Yes, Daytona stayed. I think Nashville stayed.
You get Alabama, though. That's not like Atlanta.
So, but where did that come from?
I don't know. I think they're
Birmingham, Alabama?
Yeah,
I don't even know.
They're trying to change things up.
Yeah, I think you're going to get more even the following year.
Like Speedway style stuff?
No, I think the Speedway stuff is done. I don't think you're going to see much more of that besides Daytona. Fans don't like it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Too far away.
I hate it.
Yeah.
But fans don't like it. You can only see one part of the track. No one wants to see. You can see more on TV.
Yeah.
You know, like it's...
Yeah.
Dude, and there are obviously, there's a lot of things to consider when you, obviously they want to go to a different place for different demographic.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, they're probably getting the place for next to nothing
Oh, absolutely.
to throw the event, you know?
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, Alabama wants that. You know, they're like,
right.
oh, yeah.
Well, somebody's going to come here and spend money.
Yeah,
you know?
okay, a big feld event. Yeah, we'll give it to them cheap so that they come,
Right.
and we're going to make a bunch of money from all the visitors.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
so you're going to go A1, San Francisco, San Diego, A2, Detroit, Glendale, Arlington, Daytona, Birmingham, Alabama, Indy, which I know, Shane, that's one of your personal favorites,
Yes.
Seattle, St. Louis, Foxborough, Nashville, Philly. Have you been to Philly? Have you raced in Philly?
No,
No, this is the first time.
I'm usually scared to get out of my vehicle there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there once and I did not enjoy it.
So Philly and then Denver, wrapping it up in Salt Lake. So I will just say for us, which this past year we did East Coast Light Supercross. This year we're not, which we'll do that breaking news here in a second. But for me personally, as a fan of the sport, probably only going to go to Daytona and Nashville.
Yeah.
That's probably it. I mean, I might fly out to one of the other ones, like,
Can't miss Nashville.
go represent some
Nashville's
JS 66 somewhere,
Yeah.
But as far as going, like Nashville and Daytona are probably the only two that I'll go to.
Yeah, it's a weird schedule. I understand a lot of it, but at the same time, I'm like, why are we going Anaheim, Detroit. Arizona?
That's
Yeah.
a long.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I'm like, okay, immediately, I'm not sending my van.
That's pretty early in the season too. Can
Very
you imagine
early.
the weather in Detroit?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, like I remember, like even the last few years, like you walk outside, you can't even feel your hands.
Yeah.
You know, like you try to avoid going outside.
And the parking there.
Well, there is no.
You're wedged in between buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no
room.
pit party. There's no setup. There's nothing. You go inside of like a locker room and you put your bike on a stand. You have more, like about the same room as this table, and you can have a table and your toolbox, and like that's kind of it. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm not sending my van. I'm gonna just send my bike with Honda or something and a toolbox and some parts and a spare set of wheels and fly in, because what's the point of having the van there?
Yeah.
You don't need it, you know?
Yeah.
It's
So
just
you're going to go Anaheim 2 to Detroit and then to Glendale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which Anaheim 2 to Glendale is 5 hours.
Yeah.
People don't, I don't know if
that's a kick in the nuts.
Yeah.
Detroit, Glendale.
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Complete slap in the face on that one. And I don't understand the reasoning on it. And I know Detroit's a day race too. Like our practice at like 7 a.m.
Really?
Yeah, so we're out of there super early. So I'm gonna be flying out directly after the race.
In and out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Starts at 3:00.
Yeah.
Night show. Huh. Cool.
Which a lot of the races I think this year are all early now. I know like a lot of the West Coast rounds are not real. They're at night, but they start at like 5:00, I think, instead of 7.
Wasn't there something like with the TV package?
It's a TV
where-
thing for East Coast people.
Yeah, dude.
Because we
Yeah.
you guys just-
West Coast
we're
rounds on
10 o'clock.
TV. I mean, we sound like a bunch of nags right now, but like seriously, like, but to watch a race on the East Coast,
Yeah.
no, it's impossible.
Yeah, A1 starts.
I'm old. I can't stay up that late no more. I'm getting as old as Dookie.
Yeah, main event's going off at 1:00 in the morning for
Yeah.
us on the
I'll
East
wait
Coast.
for you.
Yeah.
Stay there, Dookie. I'll catch up.
I'm
So-
I'm excited about that at least. You know, like, 'cause if I'm gonna fly back and forth to a few of those like California rounds, okay, well, I'm not gonna be falling asleep at the main event this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, schedule's shot.
So you did a few of the SMX.
Yep.
And I know you did one of them on A-Ray's Yamaha,
Yeah.
which was like a last-minute decision there. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, so my plans were never to do SMX.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I did not even think I'd be close to top 30 going into it. And I ended up, I guess by the time they did like everyone, I was 23rd. And I was like, oh, okay, Supercross I guess went a little bit better than I thought it did. But yeah, I wasn't planning on doing any, just as a simple thing as this summer I didn't ride. I wasn't ready to go. And, you know, I had people talking like, oh, I can't believe you're throwing out the money. And I'm like, well, it's just, I was told it wasn't going to happen. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do it. The weekend before Charlotte, I raced in Italy. And then I think it was Wednesday night, I was like, let's just go to Charlotte, you know, like, let's just go see what it's all about. I didn't even have my Supercross suspension was still stuck in customs in Newark, which is a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I followed that whole story.
Yeah,
that was
wild.
interesting.
But yeah, so I was like, man, we'll just go up and just, you know, have some fun. It was like an 8-hour drive, no big deal. You can do it in a couple, 8 hours and whatever, get up there and get back. So it was cool. And then yeah, LA was I wasn't gonna do Chicago or LA. I was actually gonna go to Sigismondi's wedding, and then I had a little bit of a contract thing where I was gonna get a pay deduct if I didn't race at least one more race, and I'm like, oh, crap, like I gotta go. So I ended up going, and yeah, I didn't have a bike like at all to do it. I wasn't gonna send one from Florida. So I was like, well, I'm going to have an issue with a bike. I can't get a bike. So, okay, maybe we don't go. And I'm in a group chat with a bunch of privateers, and Benny Bloss asked me, he's like, hey, you going to go? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I don't have a bike. And A-Ray's like, you can ride mine. And I was like, okay, sure. And then immediately I was like, man, is that a good idea? I don't know if it's a good idea or not. But yeah, the next morning I called Moto Whips, and he lives like 10 minutes from A-Ray, and he picked up the bike, framed the bike, rebuilt it. And I got some plastic and some graphics, and we just went riding.
But you and I talked about this when we were out at the facility, and I think one of the reasons, correct me if I'm wrong, but racing in the LA Coliseum.
Yeah, that was a big part. Like they weren't going to go back there, so I was like, man, like this would be cool to at least just do this, you know, and be able to ride inside the Coliseum.
Yeah.
Like, of course, it's such a historic place, but knowing that there wasn't an opportunity to do it again. You know, had it was like on the schedule for next year, I would have not gone this year. I'd just been like, oh, okay, like I'll wait for next year and do it the right way. But it was like, man, I gotta do this. So
yeah.
I remember getting chills the first time I rode up and rode down. I'm like, man, I'm 30 years old getting chills over some peristyles right now. But it's just so iconic, you know.
That
was the first Supercross I went to.
Really?
LA Coliseum.
Really?
When Deegan Ghost rode his bike off the finish. That was
You
the
were
first
there?
race. Yeah, that was the first race I ever went to.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's the first Supercross ever. Not that one, the Deegan one, but like that was the first ever Supercross was in the
That's what
Coliseum.
they used to be called the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah,
76 or 77.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there.
Yeah, so for that to just, I don't know, the whole concept of it was really cool.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, okay, let's go. And then,
Got to do it.
yeah, then the wife's from out there. So it was like, we made like a little vacation.
Trip
I guess
out
you
of
could
it.
say. Yeah, so it was cool.
Nice. Well, it's cool, and it's fun to have you out there at the facility too. Obviously, with your wisdom and your history, and I know Pooh and I both trying to get as much out of you and absorb and be a sponge to get that place up where we can. But a little bit of a facility update, Shaner, is we got some drywall and some insulation finished up last week. We got some paint coming in. We're going to get the floors epoxied and stuff like that. But I did have somebody reach out to me on Instagram or it might have been Messenger or something, but they asked about, hey, how can I come out there and ride, or what does it cost to come out there and ride, or something like that. And, just to kind of answer it and put it out there, unfortunately, we're not open to public. You can't just pay to come out there and ride. So, we don't have that luxury. We don't have that ability. So I'm sorry for those that are reaching out, but it's just kind of the way we're set up, is that, we have our
I can't go play Augusta.
No. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. But as far as the team goes, we had a lot of moving parts, going on every day, communications. I mean, I was at lunch with Oakley 2 days ago, having conversations with them about the game plan, but because of the facility and the amount of, finances and stuff that go into it after just buying a dozer and a skiddy and tractor and all the stuff, that we need, we are not going to do East Coast Supercross next year. I talked to Mr. Matt Bell over at HBI Racing. Great guy, helped us a lot this year. And then, they pretty much did their own thing for outdoors. But Aiden is going to go ride for HBI. We're going to help them out with some bikes and help them out with some training and whatever we can do to support HBI. And Aiden's going to continue racing pro for HBI. And then Future MX is going to stay in the amateur world. Which, we had full intentions of going to race 2024 East Coast Supercross.
Until you saw that schedule.
The schedule is a big
I'm
factor. Definitely a deciding factor was the schedule, because it's not very favorable to a Florida-based team. But even with that, this facility and, getting it off the ground is number one priority right now. So, putting our resources financially, physically, time going into that is more important than going pro racing right now. So,
Well, weren't you telling me like some of your supporters from the industry were kind of wanting you to go a different direction?
yeah, I've got two really good relationships, and that's one thing I love. When Justin mentioned building a relationship with a sponsor, that's what I'm about. I'm about the relationship. I'm not about just give me whatever I can get, and whatever I don't get, I'm going to go to the next guy. Like, I just don't work that way.
Right.
I would rather get less from someone that I know and have a relationship with and stay with them.
Yep.
And two of the people that support us the most, that I've got great relationships with, they were pretty adamant that on the pro side, their budgets are kind of already in place with, other people, either a team or big name riders, whatever, and they just don't have the budget on the pro side to do as much as they could and help us and support us if we were to just do on the amateur side. And one of them specifically said that they really enjoyed having their logo on our truck at the amateur races, because it gives them a presence in the amateur world.
Makes sense.
So that's the direction we're going to go. I still, even as of right now, I don't know exactly who all of the amateur riders for us are going to be. I mean, there's literally conversations happening daily, and trying to map all that out. I'm hoping to have something, there towards the beginning of November where we've got more of a set in stone plan. But I did commit to Minios. We're going to have the same parking spot with the semi at Minios, and the motorhome will be there. So we'll definitely be at Minios. I just don't know exactly who all is going to be under the tent, but I would say even from 2 months ago to today, our plan is completely different than what we thought. Right.
Same.
That's
how it works.
It just happens. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of keyboard warriors online, that we're not going pro racing or whatever, but I don't care.
I'm one of them in disguise.
I know you've got that fake stage name. Go online and say something, but
I'm kidding.
No, I mean, we did. We had full plans to go, and I mean,
I know you did, because I talked to you.
I was going to
about
say
some stuff, and it was
a month ago. We were trying to figure out how to help each other.
Yeah, there was talk in it, and it was
talking about putting the truck on the road for all 18 rounds or all 17 rounds, whatever. And
I was part of some of those conversations.
Yeah, it's just things go a lot different.
So you're the one that got that Powerball.
No, that's why we're not putting the truck on the road. It's because I didn't get it. And then obviously you go purchase a dozer and a skid steer, and that kind of changes your budget and your plans. So,
hey, those are money makers, though.
Well, I mean, we're definitely not making any money out there. But
I'll find you a dirt job with those things.
So if you take a skiddy to any little job site, you're making good money.
Yeah.
I've almost bought one a couple of times, just like man, you can go do side jobs and make good money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Driveways.
the one
Yes.
thing that I do love about our facility, and obviously Duke came down because he got to see it the other day, and Justin, you've been riding there, but it's almost like a little slice of heaven out there.
Yeah.
It doesn't even really feel like Florida. I mean, with the elevation, with the soil, and I know Justin, you and I were talking about that when you rode it the very first time.
Yeah.
That soil and the way it kind of gets square edged and the way it ruts up.
It's real.
It's real, and
Yeah.
I love that. I mean,
I don't like changing tires as much as I do, but that's just what it is. Like I've been riding on, this clay heaven for 2 years, and
Yeah.
you run the same front and rear tire for 2 weeks, and it still has the nipples on it. And it's amazing, but when you go race, you don't see that dirt.
Right.
When you go to your place, it gets like edgy, and like there's like some square edge stuff, and the whoops are hard packed and cupped out, and I'm like, man, this is like what A1 feels like, like you're like this, you see this more than anything. And Pooh's like, well, do you want to groom this? I'm like, no, man, like leave those little ruts, like leave it chopped up. Like that's what we're going to race on. Like
Right.
leave it.
Yeah.
To me, it's so worth it with the dirt. But like, man, if you put moisture in that thing, like you can water it and in 5 minutes go ride, and it might be slimy for a lap, but then there's just unreal traction.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's so good. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I enjoy that part the most. I think the only thing I enjoy the least is all the build outs things, like just anybody knows in today's world, like trying to get people there on time and trying to get things done and, as quick as we wanted it to, my goal would be have the place look like a golf course. Everything's perfectly fine and done before anybody shows up. But that's just not reality.
Well, the main focus is the tracks and the training anyway. I mean, all the rest of that it's a work in progress.
Yeah, it's coming. I mean, it's coming, and we're fully aware of that, to see how that goes. But Justin, one thing I want to conclude on is who all the people that are helping you out right now, part of the JSR Motorsports and the program that you got going for 2024. I mean, who's behind you?
Yeah, so I mean, Honda's the big one, right? That one's pretty cool to have manufacturer support on like a little Sprinter van program like I do. But I say Honda's the big one, and then I got Alpine Stars back for next year. I've been in Garnet for a few years, but back with A Stars now, and then it's kind of just like the little stuff right now with like Twin Air and Works Connection, Dunlop, DID for chains and rims, KSR wheels. Cherubies plastic, got seats. I'm trying to just like look at my bike right now and just remember all these things.
Well, one of the things, I mean, for the people listening that don't really know, like even for you, we're in October right now.
Yeah.
Is it set 2024?
No. So far away from it.
Do you think that the SMX affected that?
No, I don't think so. Mainly because, I mean, everyone's contracts usually end in October, or October 1st. They end and they start. Every company that has funding has to get the top factory teams and riders done first. Then we come in line. So I wouldn't say it's early. I wouldn't say it's late either. There's still so many rolling parts right now for me to get done before we go racing. But like I said, usually like all my stuff is done by like middle of December. Like everything's done. Let's go racing.
Okay. Is that a normal time frame?
For a program like me, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what my results are, the content I'm pushing out, I don't have a semi. I don't have multiple riders. It's just me. So yeah, I'm at the end of, the budget for a lot of people, but it also doesn't take, the top end budget for me to run my program. So
You don't have a lot of overhead.
no, there really isn't. So it's still early, so I'm not stressing it yet. I mean, I'm every single day talking to this company or that company, trying to get this done and that done. I mean, I don't have gear done. Like I'm just wearing what I had from the season, like all that stuff is still in the air. Helmet's still in the air. So it's just right now, just do the work, and everything kind of falls in line. But
Shane, when were you wrapping, like changing the wraps on trucks? Like when would that have been? December or the wrap on the semis? When were you changing those out, like season to season?
It always went down. Yeah.
December, like late December.
Usually to the last minute.
Well, just like everything else, like by the time people make a decision on how it's going to be laid out, and there's always changes in the design process. Yeah, like I think we change Chads every year.
Yeah.
I think I'd be picking the truck up probably 2 weeks before Anaheim
Yeah.
out of wrap.
Yeah.
yeah, my van got wrapped right before Christmas this last year.
Yeah. And
It's one sponsor can change your entire look.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that. I mean,
Yeah.
you would, but like it literally, it's one sponsor comes in that's, that actually cares about this design and this can change everything you've put together for 2 months.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, I pulled the wrap off my Sprinter and I've just left it. I'm like, I'm not doing anything until I know,
So you're done.
until it's done, until everything is done. So it's,
well, didn't you tell me that there was a time, I think it was in the 2-2 time, and Justin, you may have had to deal with this stuff too, but didn't you tell me there was a time that you had to change logos on the semi between races?
Yeah.
Depending on where you, what city you went to?
That was the discount tire days. So like some cities
It's America's Tire, right?
was America's Tire. And so we had to put overlay America's over discount. And then at the end of the weekend, I had to rip it off, run discount for whatever cities we went to. And then the guys would fly out and reinstall the Americas for certain other cities.
That's crazy.
And then I'd rip it off. And
Changing sponsor logos on the side of a semi
like
from week to week.
It's like a $10,000 sticker, dude.
yeah. No, people don't understand that putting the stickers on the stuff is expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm just myself in this year. I think it was $5,000. Just for a Sprinter. Van.
And I literally peeled it off into the trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After being on for one race.
Yeah. I think it only happened like 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah, I mean, I know we got our semi wrap last year right before Minios. We picked it up, I think, 2 weeks before Minios. I mean, you're talking 15,000 on that wrap, and that wrap is a little bit different the way I designed it. And it, honestly, it's because of your story about the whole discount and America's Tire. Mine is a base template on the truck with the Future MX is printed into it. But every other logo on it is a sticker.
Overlay.
That's how my Sprinter was.
So I can peel
My
it.
Sprinter was white. We wrapped it black, and then every single sticker on it was like the
Individual.
logos. Even the design was separate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that
I told
that way,
RJ
if I have to change any of that,
Well, I told RJ, you don't know who you're going to piss off throughout the year, you know? And
But that's the truth. Like some people are like, I don't want to do this anymore. Or they're not gonna keep paying or something.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
Pull it off.
Right.
And like
the only thing that I was, I knew is like, look, we're going to keep, obviously our social media handles. We're going to keep our website. We're going to keep all of our own base Future MX logos that we own. Everything outside of that is a sticker.
I've gone to the first race and not had an awning,
Yeah.
and they come and put it on for you.
Yeah. Well, I think it was the week before Minios. We got a new awning. You and I went up there and they sent me the awning instructions of how to put this thing together. And I'm looking at paperwork with Duke and I'm like, I don't even know where to begin.
if you want to see something funny, like just go to A1 on a Friday.
Yeah.
And just look at how many teams are still putting logos on, putting their canopy on for the first time. That's the one where they're like not every team, but a lot of them are working until 8:00 at night.
Learning.
No, just finishing their stuff because they don't like their toolboxes aren't done yet. Like I remember this past year, like all of my oil was hand delivered at A1.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, well, it's cheaper than shipping it, so we're just gonna hand deliver it to you. It's like A1 is like Christmas for all these teams, and then it's also like a nightmare at the same time because you're doing this, and this, but then you're also getting this, and this. It's a comical day.
I remember that for us, spot on. I mean, not A1, but for us, the very first time taking that semi, because Shane and I bought that from Gas last year, and where did we go? Des Moines.
I didn't buy it. I helped you get it, though.
That's what I'm saying. We went and got it. What did we fly into? Des Moines.
Yeah.
We went to Iowa. Picked
Is it one
up.
of Ty Lube's?
No.
Was it
It was
owned by Ty Lube?
Chad Schweitzer and the
GNCC
It was the
team.
Gas GNCC.
Okay, got it. Because I know like Ty Lube, the lubricant people, they usually have a bunch of semis and stuff that they lease to teams and
yeah.
stuff.
That guy, he has like 6 or 8 of them.
Yeah, he has a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we ended up buying this one from the Gas GNCC team, and Shane and I flew to Des Moines, Iowa, and picked it up and drove it home, and it obviously completely wrapped Gas, all their logos, all their brands, Milwaukee, everything.
Yeah.
So we're out there starting to peel some of their stuff off, but theirs is very similar to ours, is the fact that they had a base wrap, which was just the colors, and all the logos would peel off.
Yeah.
So we were peeling the logos off of it once we got it back down here, and then took it and got it wrapped, and then had to go to the awning company because their awning was red.
Yeah.
So we went to the company that made theirs. We kept all the framework, but we had to get all new material.
Yeah.
or canvas, whatever you would call it. So
Canopy is not cheap.
no, no, it was about equivalent to what the wrap was. I think the wrap was right around 15 to 18, and I think the awning was right around 15.
Yeah, it's expensive.
And that was no hardware.
That's why I've never gone away from canopies.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm never going to go that route.
No, and
canopies are off the side.
Yeah, and I love the canopy idea because it's way easier to set up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially when you got 4'2" Duke over there with you trying to get these pins up in the top. It's like just
Got to bring a ladder with it.
no, we had to wait till Pooh got there.
Size ladder.
Yeah.
We had to wait till Pooh got there and we could stand Pooh up there. He's so much taller, but no, that's a lot of moving parts that people don't get to see. So it's nice to be able to hear about it, and congrats to you for putting the work in and the effort. I mean, essentially doing the entire program on your own. So that's neat. Congratulations on getting married.
Thank you.
This off season, and then we got a baby on the way.
Yep.
When's the baby due?
I think the first week of May. So hopefully during the week between the last 2 rounds. Otherwise, you're not going to see me at either Denver or Salt Lake.
Oh man. Well, hopefully everything goes great with that, and congrats on building this family up and getting married this year, and that a huge step for you. So
yeah.
Number 66 on the Honda this year, Justin Starling. Anybody you want to thank, Justin, while we got you on the podcast or before we go?
Yeah, just kind of everyone I mentioned before, and we're still working out a lot of the stuff for next year. But I think a big one is just Throttleburst. They're really stepping up for me and doing all the media and with the Instagram and YouTube and even TikTok, the whole thing. Like they're doing it all. So they're going to keep us relevant, I guess you could say, throughout the whole thing. So yeah, big thanks to those guys. And
and they've got some new product coming out soon, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah,
right?
Yep. I think it's
new product coming soon. So
liquid something, I can't remember the name right now, but it's like a 5-hour energy shot, but without all the bad stuff in it.
Yeah,
it's actually pretty good. I've used it. It gets you going.
So we'll keep an eye out for that. Maybe even send some to Dino. When he's on the road driving. He's all about those energy boosters.
Yeah, well, Dino.
But it'd be nice having you up here at the facility and being able to ride with us, throughout the week and help improve the facility and get it off the ground and going. So I'm sure we'll have you on another episode soon.
Yeah.
That way,
I'm only 40 minutes down the road.
Yeah. Well, now that we got you up this way all the time and you see what the place is like, but greatly appreciate your time today coming up and doing it. Episode number 32. Tyler, we got anything else? Or we almost done? Sugar Shane, anything?
No, man, I'm good.
Good. JS 66 this year, running the new 66 number. Make sure you get some merch, right? We got JS merch
we have
out.
new stuff coming out here soon as well. We got merch this year. Got the hat on right now.
So anybody listening wants to support Justin and support his program, make sure you go get some merch. That helps him go fund in racing. Make sure you subscribe on all of the different channels, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening from. Mr. Dave Dukey, we appreciate you joining us today and hanging around. And again, another asset to the wisdom of the passionate sport that we all love, motocross racing. So episode 32, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks, guys.